Skyline Song here. This is, I was reading this book. I'll show you how far I got through. My kids play orchestra. They both play violin. And so I've spent a lot of my life as a mother watching or sitting near orchestra. Well, now I know the routine. Bring all my books, bring my tea. So it's like my wonderful tea and book study time. Well, this book is written, I got this book because I was trying to figure out what's going on with Whitley Strieber. Let me see if I can find his name here. Oh, on the back. I was trying to figure out what's going on with him. And when I read books that are written by people, sometimes I can feel the background. I can feel whether they're telling the truth, or I can feel like if they talk about, their struggle, like he talks about in here. He talks about a visitation that he had. He was on I think a book tour, and someone came to his hotel room and knocked and came in, and the summary of it is that this was like an angel embodiment type of person who had been one of his childhood guides. And then so he writes it all down, and then he says that he doubts whether this really happened, but he told his wife right after it happened to not let him talk himself out of that it really happened. So she was faithful to that, and she kept telling him that he needed to believe that it happened. Well, anyway, so because he had been, he wrote the book Communion, which I haven't read, about the grays, and I'm trying to be open-minded about that some grays, that we can't classify a whole species. However, I do feel that grays, it's just weird as a human. You have to be so humble about what you don't know, and there's just so much we don't know. For example, if the grays really are a vegetable type of form, or sort of a kind of like a biological robot, that to me puts them out of the equation of diversity, because I don't know if they're essential, or like a conscious robot, or I don't know, but I believe in diversity, and that everything is diverse and every species is diverse, but really only divinely created species or divinely evolved species, like not a robot. Robots wouldn't be diverse, is kind of what I'm trying to say. So I was reading this trying to figure out whether this was a gray that he had talked to. I don't think that grays can shapeshift. I think they can definitely possess somebody, though. But so in here, the main thing I wanted to tell you about this book, because I used to meditate a lot when I was, when my kids were really little. And I used to do it, without sitting still. I would just bring the stillness wherever I was. And I stopped doing it because I noticed that the stillness of the mind was actually coming to the point to where I was losing the ability to think. I was also losing the ability to talk. At that time, I started to not be able to talk. And it was, I realized I had probably meditating too much. And then I started to think, oh, they don't warn you that you can meditate too much. They don't warn you this. Well, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one who started to forget how to talk. I started to forget, everything about this world, how to drive, how to, go and get an errand done. And I realized that, like those yogis in India, where they have people take care of them, that's okay. And I'm not saying that that's wrong or right or whatever. It's just that I feel like our mission, or at least my mission, and I think other people who maybe want to listen to me, our mission is to bring the wisdom of like the of the yogi who would live in a cave, bring that wisdom to the streets, bring that love to the streets. Some of these yogis in caves and some of these great saints and masters, they don't have children. They don't have the chaos of children and the chaos of living, in the city. And so when I was struggling a lot being a single mother, that's what my guys always told me. They said, because I wanted to be like these great masters. And they said, you know what? These great masters never lived near gunfire, constant gunfire, because we live in a difficult neighborhood, and it's actually getting better. But it had been, the gunfire was so common that we wouldn't even speak of it anymore. We would just move away from it, from whatever side of the house it was on, or depending on how close, we would get to the floor, but we wouldn't speak of it. And so we got very casual about the gunfire. And if you think of your world as a holographic world, and where things rise up that are healing you, it was at that point where we became very casual about the gunfire that actually it really lessened, and we hardly have it anymore. We used to have it like every 3 days. Well, so they were saying, yeah, okay, these masters, they live in caves, and also the masters in India, they live, they have people taking care of them, and my husband does take good care of me, but I don't want to be that dysfunctional. So I realized I probably meditated too much. So I stopped meditating. At least what I tried to find balance more. I tried to use the stillness, the awareness of the stillness, to project back to my functionality, to remember what day it was and where I needed to be, and remember everything on my list, my to-do list, and, try to bring, the awareness of the yogi to to life. And I had known, I didn't tell you this because I've recorded something and then I lost it. And it's sort of a preface to this. Well, I had an experience that showed me that everything, even normal things, even paying a bill, even unlocking a car is, these chokes me up. It's unspeakably sacred, everything. So you think some things are mundane, but they're not. So I know that, because a lot of people think that, meditation is sacred, or, having visions or something is sacred. And then, cleaning the toilet is not sacred, or, dealing with, just like, bickering children, that's not sacred. Well, this experience showed me, sorry. Well, so it showed me that everything is sacred. And actually everything, I'll have to tell you this experience again, because I talked about it and then I lost that video. So every small thing is sacred. This page, the dirt on the floor, the clutter in the kitchen, it's all sacred. So anyway, so that was part of for me to understand, that for some parts of life, of reincarnation, the yogi or the master lives in a cave, and then in other parts the master walks the streets. Not saying that I'm the master, but I wish to improve and be the best that I can be and fulfill the mission as much as possible. And so they told me that was the mission, bring it to the streets. And I think you might feel that in your heart too. You live the sacred and you bring it to the streets. You bring it to the grocery store, you bring it to the mundane. And then you live consciously among everything that is mundane, knowing that you are within the body of the divine, the true God, the true everything. And there's no place else to be. So then you don't wish for anything else, because you recognize the sacred wherever you are, and you recognize the sacred in whoever you see. And that's how Joshua walked. He saw the sacred in whoever he saw. And I asked Joshua to help me see that, and he did. And now I'm you know, a little strange because I love strangers, and I try not to frighten them, but some of them can feel that love, and some of them are fine, and some of them are uncomfortable. Well, I don't try to embarrass them, but I just they can see that in my eyes, I think. So that's how the master walked, and that's why everything was sacred to Joshua. You know, the spreading of fish, the, you know, I don't even know if these stories are symbolic or true, but I feel that he walked where the inner was at the outer, and his inner was very sacred, and so his outer was very sacred. And so he greeted everyone as their sacred self. Now, so anyway, I'm getting to what this book is about. This book was a good message for me. I'm not sure all the circumstances of this book. Can't remember how much it cost, but what he talks about, so he has his childhood guide show up in the physical, and his guide basically tells him that people need to meditate, and the reason why they need to meditate, also this was written in 2001, so some of the guide also says some things that are going to happen, and I know for a fact that the timelines have changed and these things are not going to happen anymore, but not saying that they weren't true here. Well, so the guide tells him, so yeah, see, 2001. And I remember this time, and I remember the projections. I could see the projections in the timelines of this time, and I knew they were grim. All right, well, things are better now. Not, yeah, actually, I don't know. I don't think if I can speak on how much better they are. They're pretty much better, though. Well, so anyway, his guide tells him that the main reason to meditate is for you to feel the inner energy body, like Eckhart Tolle talks about, feel the energy body. And the reason why you do that is so that when you die, you will have the awareness and the strength of awareness to hold your energy body together in a collection after you die. And I had not heard this before. So, and the idea is that he says that that's why there's a lot of reincarnation happening on this planet, because people need more and more chances to develop enough consciousness to hold their body in a collection after they die. And then after they can hold their body in a collection, then they become what's called a luminous being, and they can choose whether to incarnate or not again. And often they do. Sometimes they incarnate again and they become teachers or masters. And this guide refers to the children being born, that many luminous masters are being born right now as children. And they're basically like raising, like a metaphor would be water and children, and the masters are warmer, you know, using the Celsius temperature gauge of mastery, right? The children are warmer, so they raise the ambient temperature up for everyone. That's the idea. That's why they come. And that's why it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter whether you write a book, you know, you become a speaker or anything. You're just here to raise the temperature up for everyone. Well, the idea is that the idea that this guide talks about is that the planet is coming to a point of extinction again. Now that's, of course, you know, debatable, although it looks like, you know, we're wobbling on how are we going to overcome the dark to protect our planet. We have to overcome the dark, and we have to take back control to protect our planet. And if we don't do that, we will probably face some kind of extinction. And there's a lot of interesting things he says in here about our relationship to the planet. Well, okay, so there's no... All right. Talk to you. I'll be right back. All right, well, that was my sweet dear friend, and so he's probably going to listen to this. And I love you if you're listening. So I was trying to get across the point that you need to hold, you at least this guide of this book says that the reason why you meditate is to strengthen your light body sense of yourself to the point that you don't need a physical body, so that when you exit your physical body, you don't disperse. So what they said is that when you're not a luminous being yet, your energy disperses and you don't remember who you are, and all your particles basically go everywhere, and then you reincarnate. Your particles basically are brought back, but it's not, I think there's a protected process during that time to where you're able to reincarnate again with your not with your memories, but your memories are recorded for you basically. But there's going to be a graduation point where you need to have to be able to hold your energy by yourself, and that's what meditation does. Anyway, there's a lot of very interesting points in here. He talks about Jesus or Yahshua and Buddha. And he says that Islam, Christianity, and Buddhism are three parts of a whole. They're like three seals that overlay each other. And I thought that was an interesting viewpoint. I know that Christians would view this book as that it's demonic, to speak to someone who could be a star person. It sounds like this person is both a guide and a star person. But I think that as, multidimensional or galactic beings, we are going to run into more of God's divine creation. And we cannot demonize things just from a fundamental, like that we read a book and now we demonize something. You need to find out for yourself through your heart what is who is a person to listen to, and who isn't. Okay, so that's, I guess, my video on this. So what I need to do is make sure that I can hold my light body. Okay, so what this person said is that this guide said that about 50% of people on the earth right now are able to hold their light bodies. And what this guide and people like him are worried about, because they are trying to finish the experiment here and get everybody home. What he says is that God wants companions, not subservient people, something like that. And so that is why you are not going to be, that's why you need to do your own part to develop your awareness to the point that you can maintain your light body after death. And then it won't matter whether with the earth, whatever happens, you will be able to retain your light body after death. However, if you can't retain your life body after death, your light body, it does matter. You basically need to not die until you can accumulate the awareness. Now, the way that you accumulate awareness is through meditation. It's also through the things that Yahshua taught, which is loving your neighbor, like the way that I told you, where you were overcome with love. Also, you love you love and synergize with your surroundings. Everything is sacred. That synergizes awareness. It creates awareness, a chi out of nowhere. Then you need to retain your chi, which means don't be leaky. Don't have leaks. Be healed. Have your aura be healed. Also, don't waste your chi on things like judging or worrying or hating, some things like that. Don't also waste your chi on you can also waste your chi in sexual energy if you don't do it consciously. you can waste your chi like that. And this is what happens to 20-somethings. You know, when they're a teenager, they're all, you know, ready to go. They're ready to take on life. They are, you know, they are all plugged in, ready to be original. And then they become a 20-year-old and they waste a lot of awareness in sexual activity. And then they fall into one of these traps, like working a regular job and getting into debt. And then they fall into a treadmill and they don't realize it because they're not free anymore and they've lost their awareness. All right, so this is my, I don't know if I'll try to put a link for this book here. There's a lot of interesting things in this book. And this is just one of the like 8 books I'm reading simultaneously. I liked this book because when I go to orchestra, there's a lot of Christians there, and some of the titles of my books, I'm afraid, you know, they already look at me weird, but this one doesn't have a title, so that's nice. All right, love you guys.